other people performing your piece?
Fine. I mean, I don't.
What would that mean to
I
you?
wouldn't care. Okay. I wouldn't care, but I don't think it would be as impactful because there's a lot of remembering, you know.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, sort of in going back and looking at sort of the interactions with your family, if you talked to them about that period and if that like sort of changed the way you'd written the script or you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I told my mom I was doing a piece, and she doesn't remember crying at all. They have well, at least my mom, I didn't actually speak to my dad about it, but she has a completely different memory of what happened. She was like, no, I didn't cry. I was like, oh, yes, you did. I remember. So, yeah, I basically like decided, I was like, well, like whatever actually happened, because both sides are you know, biased. Like whatever, I'm talking about my own memories, and that's like what matters.
So were your parents' reactions, have they stayed the same way since you told them? Like how your father kind of reacted very...
Wait, I'm not sure.
You know, I mean, like, was your mom just as upset, and is she just as upset still, and like,
No,
is your sister...
they're the most amazing family now. They're like, it was hard in the very beginning, but they're super supportive.
I don't know, I feel like I would have liked to see kind of that scene expand more into like the calmer part of it, or like, I mean, there must have been a follow-up conversation after that, right? Or was it just that one conversation?
Well, the follow-up conversation came like 3 years later, when I was ready to try again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just go. Yeah, no.
With what you have so far in the piece, do you think you could continue to see this evolve into something larger? Do you think there could be, you know, another act or, you know, a sequel to this?
Yeah, there's a lot of moments that I really want to expand a lot. I want to like really get into more of them. I think it could definitely go on. For sure.
Shannon?
I'm curious why the last part, the final part, was read off of a piece of paper. Was that a conscious choice, or did you just like not memorize it? Or
That was a conscious choice.
Okay.
I didn't have it memorized, but it was also a conscious
yeah.
choice. It was basically because like the piece ends at whatever I like guys, and then the poem is sort of like a message. It's like acting is done now, and now it's like say I'm reading a poem that is the message of the
Yeah.
piece.
So, and then us. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just wondering, since you are thinking about performing this for a middle school audience, like high school, okay. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if you have anything that you want to say to go along with the piece, because by the end of it, it seems very clear to me that you've embraced your sexuality and that you're comfortable in your skin. And I obviously know that took a long time for you, but I guess just like within the time frame of this piece, it sort of seems like you go from being very frantic and confused to like really reaching this sense of peace and calm that I know took a very long time. But I'm just wondering, like, you know, if I were to see this piece and I was struggling with my sexuality, like, I might sort of feel as though I was being told that everything's going to be okay, like right now, you know? And I'm just wondering if you are going to address your experience, you know, more fully if you do perform this in front of students.
That's interesting. That's really cool. Yeah, I feel I am afraid of that because the message of the piece is definitely. I definitely want to convey the empowering sense of like what it is to get to that point where you're ready to say it and like, you know, make it to vocalize it. But I don't want to go in the It Gets Better project kind of like sense of like, it's fine, you know, like no problem after you come out or like anything like that. So I think it would probably, that's a great suggestion actually, to say something that comes along with it, because I don't want, because it is hard, you know. So.
And thank you for that, because that's a big thing that we, I think, should address during our talk back with them. And if you, in addition to questions, if you have any suggestions for things that we could say, to the students at Northampton High, please feel free to share. It would be extremely helpful for us.
I was wondering, it seemed, I mean, of course it was condensed, the whole thing was condensed, but how quickly after you saw his legs did you decide, like was it actually the same day that you told your parents? So you just knew when you saw his legs that you were gay and you were gonna just tell
I know. Those were legs, man. It was, yeah, I mean, the timeline went, saw the legs that night, came out. They were like, oh, and like, so I was like, nope, no more. And then it took all of high school, and then at the end of high school, I started telling people.
with girlfriends and everything.
Yeah, with girlfriends and everything. So it was like sort of a false start. This is the story of the false start.
Those must have been really sexy legs. And also, I think it might be interesting if you tried to develop a different structure for the talk back, like one that's a little bit more dialogue-y, maybe in format and information of the students, like have you guys and them on the same level possibly, to like open it up for a more sort of back and forth.
Yeah, it's a very different thing talking to in an educational sense than in an informal dialogue with an audience of peers. Right? Good, Nelson.
Are these students going to be, like, they volunteered to go to that event as part of Pride Week, or is it?
I'm not sure. It's very tentative right now.
Because I'm wondering if it's like the whole school or whatever just going to the event. It's not.
I think I used to go to their Christian high school. I think that what it is all the classes go at a time. It's like a big assembly for everybody, and they're
Oh, wow.
hard to go.
Okay, so it's going to be like all types of students.
Yeah.
I was going to skip to what Cindy was saying about introducing it. I think what you were just saying about the false start would be a wonderful thing to include like before or after in talking to the students, just because it kind of brings that, it's like, yeah, it is this really affirming thing, but it can also be a really hard struggle.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, it would be amazing if you could even find a way to put it into the piece and convey that, but if not, it is like a really important, part.
I don't know if you'd want to do this, but I think it'd be a really good resource for the students if you wanted to like give them contact information for you afterwards. So if there were students who are like really, I know.
And here's my number.
I don't think you'd be bombarded necessarily, but like it might be really important for like if there were kids who were really moved by it and really affected by it and like then saw you as this sort of like mentor figure.
Yeah, I think we should put together people who are a sheet of people who are better role models.
So it's sort of a complicated question. I've been thinking a lot about at the end of the piece when you have the poem, and that it feels like such a different tone than the rest of the piece. I felt really comfortable with you for most of it, and then at the end, I found myself kind of in my head. And everything you're saying now about like that was a false start, and there's all these things that have happened since, I almost feel like for me, a more comfortable ending would have been you current day talking in the same way that you're talking to us. And I don't know if that's necessarily instead of or in addition to or just as kind of a epilogue, but that might be something that, especially for like a younger audience than this group, could be relatable because the way it ended, it didn't feel bad, it just felt a little off.
Okay.
Yeah. So, through the construction of this piece and kind of developing it, during the process, did you feel like you had moments of intolerance? Because I remember what your father said, and then also this to touch upon what was said before about, the process feeling, or the coming out being so quick, like here at the start of the process, I'm not so sure, and by the end I'm gay, but, kind of, thinking about the conflict resolution of coming out and then of having intolerance spewed at you, or somebody calling you slurs, or, you know, a kind of conflict that you have to overcome as far as the process of coming out? I mean,
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of questions there, but.
Yeah. No, I think that could be a good thing to add. The only thing that I want to make sure is that it doesn't, because it's so easy to go broad and be like, I gotta talk about this, and talk about this, talk about this, and so I'm really trying to like really focus it and keep it like super centralized, because if it gets too broad, then it's gonna maybe be a little like lopsided and hard to see as a unit, you know?
I think it's something that would be important, would be to emphasize that these are your experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that will also partially address that if Stan gets up and says, these are my experiences, this is what happened afterwards, and this is what has brought me eventually and throughout time to this point in my life, and know that I cannot tell you how things will go for you.
Yeah.
But just so you know, through hard work and a lot of emotional support, I was able to get here.
Have the heart of a sexy
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I think you have such a great start, and I feel like this only makes me more curious. And I want to hear more, and I think that's why we're having such a kind of, asking me so many questions. And I think that, it's hard because there's so much you can talk about, so you do have to keep it focused. But like, I would really encourage you, and I'm sure, we're all encouraging you to keep going with it. But also just, could you, throughout the process, would you do like progress reports with teachers or like critiques or anything? Or was it mainly like you just doing you and then this is the final outcome? Or would you ever like, sit down with your professor or something and perform the like what you had?
I talked to Talia in the beginning, and I said, this is what I want to do. And she said, okay, have a script in a month. And I had a script in a month, and I gave it to her, and then we talked about it. And then I had like 5 faculty members and 2 students in the writing center. And I did it just for them, and then got feedback from them, and then started revising. And then it kind of like went to the side for like a month. And then like last week, I coming up to this performance, I brought it back out and started revising.
Okay, Anna and then Augusta. I think one of the things that, so like he said, was the fact that there were some really funny moments, and that was really nice to laugh with you. And I would be curious to see how that plays out with a group of high schoolers who often use laughter as maybe a form of covering up their own feelings or insecurities, or unsure of what's appropriate or what to laugh at, when's an appropriate time to laugh, or just a tough kind of thing, I'm gonna laugh, ha ha ha. And so you know like when your friends are putting up a front that maybe you're not moved, or it's maybe touching. So it would be interesting, maybe you wouldn't be able to pay as much of attention because you're in your zone, but maybe Stacy could notice when are the moments when people are laughing that maybe you want them to be laughing, and when are the moments when they're laughing that maybe it's like an area that you can bring up a discussion and use that as points to engage with the audience and say, like, what about that made you laugh, or what about that, what did that bring up for you, and why was that your reaction?
That's awesome.
And it could get people to maybe explore how it affected them also. It's a cool idea.
Oops.
Sorry. I'm just wondering about the size of the audience. Is it going to be like the whole school, or is it going to be just the little class?
It's a big auditorium with a big assembly thing. Last time I was there.
Is there anyone from Northampton High School here right now?
Right here.
Who attends there now? Some people actually thought about. Some people we're thinking about coming.
Okay, we have time for 2 or 3 more questions, and you're gonna start.
I was gonna add on to the laughter thing. I think that was really on point there. But I also feel like in my experience performing for high school students, laughter is a really important alliance with them as well. And so for the parts that are simply silly parts, where you're trying to get a laugh, it can be really awkward if you don't get that laugh. So I would say like go for those moments, and that's really important in like connecting with them.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll know who Tim Dunn is?
Oh, no doubt, yeah.
Everyone knows who Tim Gunn is.
He's the Northampton High School mascot. The Fighting Guns.
Okay. If there are no more questions, thank you so much for.